Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be back at St. Times Cat after such a long time. And welcome to episode 296, nearly nudging the 300 mark. Well, I've already nudged that. So, today on the program, we're going to be talking about summer eating and healthy eating, and jams, preserves and pickles. Now, I haven't brought jams or chutneys up for a while on the program, and this Tuesday I've got a new person with me, and she joins me now, but I'm gonna start the show off myself first. Well, as I've said, it is great to be back with you all here at 10 times on a Tuesday, and the time is 9:28. So yesterday we cooked fish burgers and chips, and we will talk about that also on the show. Now, my special guest today is Cara. Good morning. How are you going?
Good morning, Barry. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
And welcome to my program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, today on the show, to kick it off, let's talk about jams and chutneys. Now, jams and chutneys, let's talk about the jams first. Now, jam is like a sweet, sticky spread which you spread on toast, scones, pikelets, use it for fillings for cakes, and even on ice cream. Now, Cara, what do you think about this?
I love jam. Raspberry jam is my favourite one, and I definitely love using it on toast.
So I've got a recipe here for a jam, and we're going to read that to you shortly. But the most important thing that Cara and I would like to bring up on the show is, if you haven't got your vaccination yet, please do go and get that now. And there are vaccination places open all over the shop, okay? So if you haven't got your vaccination now, if you haven't got your vaccination yet, please do go and get the jab now. So here's Cara to tell you.
It's important to get your vaccination to protect yourself and the others around you, and it's just to minimise the spread. So it's very important to get the vaccination.
So this is the first edition of the Tuesday Wraps from here. Okay, so thank you for joining both Cara and myself today, and we look forward to your company on today's show. Well, we've got a good show coming up for you today. We're going to be talking about how to make jam, and that's our first item on the agenda or on the show. So jam, okay, make sure you've got your ingredients all fresh, the right amount of sugar and pectin, okay, and make sure you've got hot sterilized jars to put it in. Now, how would you sterilise your jars, Cara?
I would wash it first and then I'll soak it in steriliser and then wash it again.
Okay, so having a hot, sterilised jar, guys, very important. Don't use dirty, filthy jars, otherwise it's not hygienic and the glass will go crack and not good. So we're just going to pause for a moment while we get the jam book out and we'll tell you how to make jam. Just a moment. Jams and jellies, okay. Here we have the basic rules and instructions on how to make the jams and jellies. So, the importance of testing for pectin, which is having here, okay, make sure you test for that. Here's Cara now to take up this little bit.
Do you want me to read that? Put 1 teaspoon juice from the pan into a small glass. Leave until cold. Then add 3 tablespoons methylated spirit. Shake gently and leave for 1 minute. A jelly-like lump indicates plenty of pectin present and up to 3 cups sugar can be added for each 500 grams. 2 or 3 less firm clots show moderate pectin and 2 cups of sugar can be added for each 500 gram of fruit. The more sugar you can add, the greater the yield will be without affecting the sweetness of the jam. Lots of small clots indicates little pectin and the jam is unlikely to set unless pectin stock or another high pectin fruit is added. When commercial pectin stock is added, following the malfunction directions, if homemade pectin stock is added, use 2-3 tablespoons to 500 grams of fruit.
Okay, so this is important that you monitor. If you've got little pectin, the jam will not set as well. Okay, so let's go and have a look at the jam recipe now. And this jam is called Harmony Jam. And for this you need about cooking apples, so you need about 500 grams, I think. And then you need about
750 grams of cooking pears.
some cooking pears, so 250 grams of those, and then you peel them and then you chop them, I think. And the next ingredient, you need about
250 grams of red plums, stoned and quartered.
So here's Cara now to read the rest of the recipe out.
250 grams of red plums, stoned and quartered, 1 cup of cold water, and 5 cups of sugar.
So 5 cups of sugar, so
That's a lot.
5 cups, so 250 grams plus 250 grams, that's 2 cups. So that's 450 grams of sugar plus another 250 grams, that is 750, isn't it?
5 cups.
And then 5 cups. So how much sugar is that?
Well, yeah, 2 cups is 500 grams. So it'd be about 1.25 kilos.
So 1.25 kilos of sugar.
It's a lot.
That is a lot of sugar if you have a sweet tooth. Now, the instructions on how to make this jam.
Peel and core the apples. Place the peel and cores on a square of muslin and tie loosely. Cut the flesh into small pieces. Put all the fruit and muslin bag and the water in a pan. Cook gently for about 20 minutes until the fruit is soft. Test for pectin. When a firm clot is obtained, remove the muslin bag and squeeze out all the liquid. Add the sugar, stir until dissolved, then boil rapidly, stirring occasionally until setting point is reached. Cool slightly, then stir and pour into a hot sterilised jar, and then cover.
Okay, so as we were saying before about the jars, guys, you must have it hot. So if you're going to sterilize the jar, okay, wash it really well with warm, hot soapy water, okay, and make sure you've got good, tight fitting lids. Here's my offsider.
Yeah, if you don't have your jar hot, what will happen is if the jar's cold and you put something hot into it, it's going to crack the glass. And then if you don't have a tight sealed lid on it, it's just going to fall off or it won't stay fresh.
Okay, now, and strawberry jam as well, okay, the same with, so, strawberry concern, sorry.
Strawberry.
So we'll just pause. Okay, strawberry jam. Okay, you need
1 kilo of small whole strawberries, 6 cups of sugar, juice of 1 orange, and 3/4 cup of pectin stock.
okay, so again, you must have the right amount of sugar and pectin, and like we've said before, the jam will not set. Here's my offsider.
Okay. You put the strawberries in a pan with the sugar and orange juice. Heat gently, stirring occasionally until the sugar has dissolved. Bring to the boil and simmer for 5 minutes. Remove from the heat and stir in the pectin stock. Cool for 10 to 15 minutes, then stir. Pour into a hot sterilised jar and cover, and it makes about 1.75 kilos.
So jam, we know it's time consuming, guys, but if you go bang, 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 and then have cold jar, the glass will crack, and then you have to start the whole king and caboodle all over again. So if you want to make your homemade jam or chutney, guys, have patience with it. Start at 7 o'clock in the morning. Go easy, okay, have your ingredients. Your jar's ready the night before, okay? So you can get up and get on with it and make some labels with it for it as well. So the last recipe we're going to tell you about is apricot and date chutney. Back everybody, and before we tell you about this recipe, we'd like to tell you what chutney is. Now, chutney is like marinated fruits and vegetables, and it has onions, vinegar, sugar, spices, sultanas, and a bit of fruit. Now, chutneys are used for savory dips, sandwich fillings, etc. Here's my outsider.
I like to use chutney if I'm doing a cheese platter and then have the chutney next to it, so you can add that to your crackers and cheese to make it a bit more fancier. And I find it makes the flavour a bit more, what's the word, like it makes it more, like it bursts in your mouth type of thing.
So, like I said, chutney is used for curries, okay? Sandwich fillings, like if you have ham and chutney on a sandwich, okay? And chutney, again, some chutneys take a long time to make and some take less time. And the recipe we're going to show you on the screen now is the apricot and date chutney, and there it is. And here's Cara now to read you the recipe, or I can read it to you.
Would you like to read it?
Yeah. Okay, you need about 500 grams of dried apricots, 1.5 cups of sultanas, 1.5 cups of white wine vinegar, a quarter of a cup of brown sugar, 250 grams of chopped dates, 125 grams of preserved ginger chopped, a cup of water, 1 tablespoon of salt, a quarter of a teaspoon of mustard seeds, and a bit of chili powder. Here's Cara now to read you the recipe.
Cover the apricots with water and leave to soak for 1 hour. Drain. Place in a pan with the sultanas and vinegar. Bring slowly to a boil and simmer for 15 minutes. Stir in the remaining ingredients and simmer until thickened. Pour into a hot sterilised jar and seal. And this makes about 1 kilo.
Okay, so again, please sterilize your jars, okay? And if you put it into a cold jar, again, crack goes the jar, okay? So we're going to bring 3 chutney recipes to you on the show today. And the second one here is apple and mint chutney.
Okay, I'll read out the ingredients that you need for the apple and mint. You need 1.5 kilos of cooking apples, peeled, cored and chopped. 4 cups of spiced vinegar, half a teaspoon of coriander seeds, 1 tablespoon of black peppercorns crushed, 2 dried red chilies, 3 cups of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of chopped mint. And then this is how you cook it. Put the apples in a pan with the vinegar and bring slowly to boiling point. Place the spices and chilies on a square of muslin and tie firmly. Add to the pan with the sugar and salt. Simmer until thickened. Remove the muslin bag and stir in the mint. Pour into a hot sterilised jar and seal. It makes about 1.5 kilos.
Okay, so you can also use those two chutneys we've brought to you on crackers and cheese, curries and sandwich films. And the last chutney we're going to present is rhubarb and fresh ginger chutney. So if we can show you the recipe for that and the ones which we have read out, the apricot and date chutney, guys. So there it is there. So we will cut to another shot with that. So just a moment. Okay, welcome back. This last chutney recipe today is a rhubarb and fresh ginger chutney.
For the ingredients, you need 375 grams of eating apples peeled and cored, 375 grams of onion, 30 grams of fresh root ginger peeled, 2 cloves of garlic, 1.5 kilos of rhubarb thinly sliced, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 3 teaspoons of salt, 2 cups wine vinegar, juice of 1 orange, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste and 3 cups of sugar. You mince the apples, onion, ginger and garlic. Place in a pan with the rhubarb, paprika, salt, vinegar, orange juice and tomato paste. Stir well, bring to the boil and simmer until pulpy. When the mixture is very thick, add the sugar and stir until dissolved. Bring back to the boil and boil rapidly until the chutney thickens. Pour into a hot sterilised jar and seal. This makes about 2.25 kilos.
So before you start to make any jam, chutney or relish, look at the recipe and instructions. You may have to look at the guide in your book before you make it, because you don't want to go kabang, 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 and then make a mistake along the way, because that is the last thing you want to have happen. Here's Cara now.
It's very important to be prepared, have everything ready, because if you don't, things can go very, very wrong. So must always be prepared and make sure that your jars are sterilised and hot. Otherwise they'll end up cracking and then you'll have to start all over again.
So it's like starting the whole thing all over again. So if you're gonna start your chutney in the morning and jam in the morning, prepare your jars the night before and you write the recipe down, okay, and have a ribbon, okay, and we'll just pour that, and the door has opened. Okay, now, jams and chutneys make a perfect gift for Christmas. And with Christmas coming up, why don't you give your friends and family a jar of what you made? Like, whether it's a jam, chutney, or relish. Here's Cara now.
These type of things are very useful at Christmas. I myself and my family use them a lot at Christmas time, and just make some for family. Like, it's only small, but it's made with love, and I'm pretty sure that they will really appreciate it and they'll love to eat it.
So coming up on the show now, we're going to talk about summer and summer footwear for casual outside of work hours. So we hope that you've enjoyed our opening segment. Now it's time to talk about summer footwear. You need good sandals for the summer months, especially if you're going out to a dance club to have a rave, pop to some music, or just to have some dinner with friends. And here's Cara now to tell you about good summer footwear.
Well, you make it sound like you're a party animal, don't you, Barry? Summer footwear is important because with the hot weather coming, you want your feet to breathe. No one likes sweaty feet. So a good pair of sandals or slip-on shoes, you can wear them casually, you can dress them up, or you can just wear them around the house. So yeah, or you can wear thongs as well, easy to slip on and off, especially if you go to the beach. So yeah, it's just really good to have your feet breathe in the hot times in summer.
So, before you go shopping for good summer footwear, ladies and gentlemen, okay, get the shoe store to measure your feet and what size shoe that you have, okay, and bring an existing pair of sandals with you, because this will help the staff arrange or work out what is the best sandal for you. Here's Cara now.
It's important to get the right fit. You don't want anything that's going to be too small or too big, and also comfort. You definitely need the comfort. There's no point buying shoes if they're uncomfortable. Because
you've got to wear them in as well, because if the shoes are the sandals are brand new, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to wear them in, okay? Because if you don't wear them in, what can happen is you will get a blister, and I've had that, and boy, it hurts.
Oh, they do, don't they, Barry?
And I bought an $80 pair of sandals, and they hurt. So wear socks with them. Here's Cara now.
Yes, it's important to break all new shoes in, no matter what type of shoe they are, because they're new. You need your feet to get used to them. You need to wear them in so they get more comfortable. And as Barry said, you get blisters, and there's nothing worse than having to wear shoes with blisters, and they hurt.
And make sure that your toenails are nice and short as well, because you don't want shoes that will give you an ingrown toenail. Here's Cara now.
No, I've had an ingrown toenail before, and they are painful, they hurt, and they're horrible. So you want to make sure that your toenails, as Barry said, are nice and short, and pretty them up a little bit if you're going to be showing your toes off in summertime.
But if you are working at a site like this, you can't wear summer shoes.
No, We have to have covered shoes, protect our feet, and for hygiene reasons.
And have some socks with your sandals too, so that you don't get blisters. Okay, so just going over the basic rules guide about shoe shopping. Okay, the same with your kid. Okay, if your kids need good sandals for summer, again, take them shoe shopping like Williams and Shoe Man. I think they're still around, I think.
I've heard of them, yes.
And again, take your child's existing sandals, okay, to the store and show the staff. Here's Cara now.
It's important, again, to get the right size for the children. You don't want anything too small that's going to hurt or anything that's too big, because just no point. You want to make sure that it's going to support their feet because they are still growing, and just got to walk them in. Got to get them more comfortable and break them in.
Okay. And if you do get a blister, attend to it as soon as possible. Okay, and the same with the ingrown toenails. Have a podiatrist come and look at it, or go to the podiatrist. Okay, because you child's toenails as well, they need to be short, okay? Otherwise, the sandals, they too could cause an ingrown toenail. Here's Cara now.
Yep. Yeah, they can be very, very painful, have an ingrown toenail, especially for kids, especially for the young ones as well. So always make sure that they're short. When they first start wearing the shoes, put socks on, wear them around at home to break them in, and then after that they can wear them without socks. And yet, just really important to make sure that they are the correct fit, so we don't have any blisters or ingrown toenails, because they're no fun and they're very painful.
And buy shoes that won't make your feet sweat as well. Something that is breathable.
Yes.
Here's my offsider.
Yes, you definitely want breathable shoes, no matter what type of shoe they are. Because, as I said before, you don't want your feet to be sweating and they'll start smelling, and then, yeah, so breathable shoes are very important to get the airflow through your feet.
So summer footwear is a must, okay? And with the 2022 school year not too far off, okay? It is October now, November, December, so 2 months. So when this year is over, okay, again, after Christmas, take your child shopping for new school shoes. Here's my offsider.
It's very important that kids have school shoes that aren't worn out.
And I'm pause that for a sec there. Welcome back, everyone, and Barry and Cara with you for episode 296. Now, we were talking about school shoes before the break. Now, with the 2022 school year not too far off, it is time for parents to start thinking about new school gear for the next year, because your child's existing school shoes, ladies and gentlemen, they might have broken, or the laces are missing, or things like that. Here's Cara now.
I've noticed with school shoes, kids tend to kick the front up the top of them, and they tend to get a hole in them eventually. So it's important that they have new school shoes, whether it's halfway through the year that they need some, because you've got to remember they're going to be wearing them 5 days a week for all day, and their feet need to be comfortable and they need to be supported properly, because they are still growing human beings. They are, if they're not comfortable, they could grow up and they could end up having issues with their feet or the way that they walk with having the wrong support.
Okay, and make sure you get some odorators as well. They can prevent odor as well. Here's Cara.
Yes, you can get the spray, or you can get little sachets that you can stick in their shoes, because as I said, they're in there almost every day, all day, and with hot weather and stuff like that, they don't get to take their shoes off or be able to wear shoes that can breathe easy, because they have to protect their feet. So it's important to get an odorizer for them so they don't tend to smell.
And make sure that you wash and dry between your
Toes.
toes, and we will talk about that also today on the show. That's our next topic. Taking care of our feet is very important, because if you're wearing shoes and socks all day, like we've said, it's very important to take off our shoes and socks as soon as we get in the door after a hot day, because with temperatures creeping up towards the 30s in the summer time, and you're wearing closed-in shoes and socks all day, that's when the problem starts. Here's Cara now.
Yes, it is very important to take your shoes and socks off, and let your feet air out, because if you don't, you can get dry skin, your feet can start to crack or get hard skin, and especially in between your toes, you can get tinea in between your toes. And we all know that that's, very painful with the little cuts that can appear. So it is very important to air your feet out, get them dry, and as Barry said, we'll be talking about how to wash in between your toes a little bit later on.
So wash your toes really well, guys. Just get in there like that. We can't show you how now, but if you're in your shower, just really get in there and wash all the sweat out and dry it thoroughly between them. Here's Cara now.
Yes, if you don't dry in between your toes, you will get dry skin, you can get an infection. So it's very important to get your towel and just do the shimmy back and forth in between your toes to get all the water out. And also when you wash in between your toes, make sure you take your time and get all the sweat out and the stuff that maybe got stuck in between your toes from your socks, so your feet are all fresh and smell nice for the next day.
So we're going to take a break now and have a cup of tea, and then we will get back to you. And this is episode 296. Barry and Cara with you. It's Tuesday, the 19th of October. Good morning and welcome back to the show. I'm Barry Fair with Cara W here, and she is my new offsider for the program on Tuesday until I leave. Okay, we open the show with jams and chutneys and relishes and school shoes and etc. Now we're going to close the show with a couple of burgers. Now, who loves hamburgers here? Let us know down below here. And joining me now back in the studio after the break. Good morning, Nicara. Welcome back to our first Tuesday episode together.
Thank you so much for having me, Barry. It's been a pleasure.
Well, hamburgers, okay. You can barbecue them, fry them, but remember, like with your ingredients, I've said it before and I will say it again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure they are fresh. Here's Cara now with her opening view on the hamburgers and ingredients.
It's important to have fresh ingredients for your burgers and to also make sure that you're prepared to when you start making them. I personally love beef burgers. Can't get enough of beef burgers. And you've also got to make sure that you want the flavour and you want the sauce so it's nice and juicy, because you don't want to have a dry burger. But yeah, just always make sure that you've got fresh ingredients, because if they're not fresh and they're a bit old, they could make you sick.
So, eating off food, ladies and gentlemen, yuck.
Yeah.
You will be sick. And you can be hospitalized, depending on how bad the food poisoning is. So, if something's out of date, you must bin it. Here's Cara now for this.
Yeah, so you don't want to eat any old or off or out of date food. It can make you sick. So it is best to throw it out and put in the bin. And yeah, that's why you just always clean your pantry or go through your fridge and check the dates on certain foods. And this is why tin food is good to have as well, because it has an extended expiry date. But yeah, it's important to always eat in-date food.
Okay, and check the date of your meat too.
Yes.
Because if the meat's off, you cannot cook with that. Here's Cara now.
Yes, with meat, if you do buy it fresh, you're not planning on using it straight away, you can freeze it up to 3 months. Anything longer than 3 months, it is best to throw it out. 3 months in the freezer, and then as soon as you take it out, you must cook it that day. But it's always best to have it fresh.
Okay, and the same with your milk too. If the milk is off, which we will talk about later on, okay, throw it out. Here's Cara now.
Yes, there's nothing worse than having off sour, chunky milk. That can make you very sick as well. So always check the date, or if you want something that, like if you use long life milk, always read the label to see how long it's in date for after you open it. Some products are chuck out after 5 days of opening.
Okay, now getting back to the hamburgers now, if you are barbecuing them, make sure you've got a good, clean, oiled barbecue grill or pan. Here's Cara now.
Yep, it's always to have a clean and hygiene surface, whether it's cooking inside or if it's cooking outside, because if it's not clean, you don't know what's on there, you don't know if you can get sick from it, so it's best to have a good clean cooking area.
So before you use your barbecue, guys, clean it. Okay, because having a clean barbecue, ladies and gentlemen, is a must. Here's Cara now for this.
Yes, it's very important to have a clean area. And also when cooking or preparing your ingredients, make sure you don't mix the products up, because you can, like with your meat and everything like that, make sure that that is stayed separate from everything else, and always use a clean cutting board or a clean utensils for when you do your vegetables and stuff, because you don't want to contaminate your vegetables with the meat, because that can also make you very sick.
Now, we watched the video during the break, and two guys were eating off the same plate.
Yes.
Now, don't do that. Get fresh, clean plates, guys. Here's Cara now.
Yeah, you don't want to be sharing a plate together. Like, I guess if you're husband and wife or your kids, it's okay, but don't share plates with anyone else, because you don't know if they've got an illness and they just don't know about it. And it's better to have your own plate. At least you know that you're not sticking the same, like the fork that's been in your mouth, that's also been touching the food that your other person's going to be touching with their fork and putting it in their mouth. So you don't want to be sharing germs with friends and stuff like that, or other family members. So
or they could have COVID.
Or they could have COVID, yes. And the way that spreads, we definitely don't want to be mixing our germs with each other, especially during COVID season.
Okay. So once you've cooked your patties, okay, get a paper towel, drain the oil off, okay, and if you want to toast your burgers, okay, cook them under the grill or in your toaster. Here's Cara now.
Yes, definitely use a toaster or the grill. If you want to do it on the barbecue, on the grill section, make sure that you have cleaned it or you have cooked the meat on a separate part of the barbecue. So you've got your grill on the barbecue or you've got your hot plate. So you can use either one for your meat or your burger buns, but make sure that you don't cross-contaminate the food. Always keep them separate.
Okay, because if you're gonna make a marinade, again, make sure your ingredients are fresh. And check the dates on your sauces, chutneys and mustard. Here's Cara now.
It is very important to check the dates, because even if something may smell like it's still in date, may not necessarily mean it's still in date. So you don't want to be going and eating old food that's out of date by like weeks or months, because it can make you sick. Like, it may smell still fresh, but then give or take a couple of days after you've eaten it, you can start to fall sick. You don't want to come down with food poisoning, because that's never fun for anyone.
And if you're gonna freeze some leftovers, put them in a bag, okay, label the contents in a Ziploc bag, okay, date it
Yes.
and say what it is. Here's Cara now.
It's very important to make sure that you put the date on. So if you've got, say like when I bulk buy my meat, I always label it in portions, and I always put the date. So if I go and buy some more, say, sausages, I date it, I know what sausages to use first, the ones that have got the older date on them. But always remember, 3 months. Any longer than 3 months, it's got to be binned.
Because food poisoning, guys, you do not want to be sick.
No.
Here's Cara now.
No, food poisoning is definitely not fun. It can be, you can get it mildly or you can get it extremely, where Barry said earlier, you can end up in hospital from it. And it's not fun. Like, you can't eat, you're in bed or in hospital for days. So it's just better off to make sure that your food is fresh and in date.
So what would you do if I was really sick here?
If you were really sick here and you need an ambulance, that'll be the first step that I take, because by the time they get here and be able to get to you, it could end up critical for you. If it was food poisoning or something like that and it wasn't needed for an ambulance, I would call the CPA Healthline to get advice, speak to a manager, and also call your home to pick you up if necessary.
But if I was critical, you would then tell the manager.
And call 000 for an ambulance for you.
So don't take the risk, guys. Being off food or milk, because you don't want to be with the paramedics. They've got enough on their plate. So enjoy your barbecue. Excuse me. Enjoy your barbecue, but be aware of your meats and chicken, guys, and your bacon too, and you will have a safe, but you will be safe and smell the contents as well, because if they smell like really off, don't consume it, because again you can become violently ill. And like I've said earlier, or just a second ago, you don't want to be with the New South Wales or Victorian or Queensland ambulance services, because they are dealing with more critical things at the moment. So enjoy your barbecue. Well, speaking of 000, we close the show on about calling 000 when we should call it and when we shouldn't call it. Only call 000 if it's an emergency. Don't call them up to ask them stupid questions or to chit chat, because the wrong call that you make to 000 could cost somebody like me in a wheelchair, or any one of us here at 10 times their lives, or even Cara's life. Here's my offsider.
Yes, it's very important not to muck around when you call 000, whether it's the police, it's the ambulance, or it's the fire brigade, because if you call them and waste their time, it could stop them from being somewhere where it is an emergency. It is very important to take calling 000 very seriously, because it's a matter of life and death with them.
Because, like, if you call them to your house and you go, ha, 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 and you think it's a joke,
No, it's no joke.
because anyone, I could become unconscious, lost, even in another area of our premises, and it could put me at risk because I may need their help one day. Here's Cara.
Yes, if someone calls up an ambulance and says, oh, there's an emergency, and they get there and there's no emergency, and then say they are our closest ambulance to St Ives, and say Barry falls really ill and needs that ambulance, and they're being called out for a joke, that's when we're going to get in a bit of pickle, because like we need them here when someone else is just wasting their time. And it's like, that means they'll take longer to get here and to be able to see and help Barry. So it's not a joke. It's very critical only to call them in an emergency, because you don't know what's going to happen just around the corner. They might be needed there more if it's an accident, or whether it's someone's just collapsed on the side of the road.
So, but if you don't need to call 000, go to your GP. He or she will be able to give you advice, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're struggling during the COVID times, Lifeline is there too. 131114 is the number you call. The number again is 131114, and they too are a 24-hour services. They both 000 and Lifeline are 24-hour services, so they are there for your convenience. And to just going over the phone manners, be polite to them. The call takers at 000, tell them what service you need, ambulance, police, or fire, but don't raise your voice and say, get that ambulance here now, because they are there to do the job. And don't hinder the paramedics either. Here's Cara now for her closing sequence on this.
It's very important to be polite and to be patient as well, because they are very busy at this time, and important is not to get in their way. If once they arrive there, you move out of their way so they can do their job to help the person that is in need. And as Barry said, don't yell at them and say, get here now, because it's not going to work. They're going to need to know exactly what has happened, so they know what they're dealing with, and so they can prepare to be ready to help that person for what they need help with.
So what would you do, just to take us down? Where would you put me until the ambulance got there?
Well, I'll put you in a quiet room, so you've got privacy, so no one else can see you. And then, yes, I would obviously, you call 000. Just explain to them what has happened, what your situation is, where we are, so they know where to come. And they will just talk you through what to do and how to handle situations until they get there. So they don't hang up on you. They keep you on the phone and talk to you until they arrive. So at least they can help you step by step.
So if the ambulance does come to a shopping centre or a restaurant or a car crash anywhere, okay, clear a path for them, because they may need to get the stretcher up to wherever the patient is, okay? Okay, say if it was here, example, the corridors must be clear so they can get the stretcher in. Say if I was in here, the manager would say, keep this area clear, please, and here's Cara to take us out.
Yes, it is important to keep a clear path, because if you are blocking the area, they're going to take longer to get to the person that's in need. So it's good to keep the area clear so that he just comes straight in and straight through the corridor, because, you know, corridor and doorways are only enough room for one person to get through at a time.
So we hope that you enjoyed the show today. And Cara, thanks for coming on the first Tuesday back. And we will see you next Tuesday morning at 9:30 to bring you all again. And we will recap all this stuff with you. So thanks for your company today. And here's Cara for her farewell now.
Thank you for having me today, Barry. It was a pleasure to be on one of your shows, and you covered very important stories today with like summer shoes and school shoes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here with you today.
So next week on the show, we will talk about when to call an ambulance and when not to in detail, and what you need to be telling them and what you need not to tell them. So that's all coming up next week on the show. I'm Barry Fair alongside Cara Willis, and we'll see you again next Tuesday morning, 9:30. You know where I bring the show to you. So until next Tuesday morning then, it's bye-bye from Cara and myself. Thanks for watching episode 296. Bye-bye.